أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
Hello, my name is Alham and welcome back to Universal Unity. So in my last video I said that submission is just the English equivalent of the Arabic word Islam, and submitter is just the English equivalent of the Arabic word Muslim. But it said that the two were significantly different. Now you might be asking, well, if they mean the same thing, then how can they be different? Now when I say Islam, what I mean is traditional Islam. The Islam that is most commonly known or is mainstream. Now there are about 5 major differences between traditional Islam and submission. These 5 differences are: 1. We devote our religion absolutely to God alone. 2. We do not place such huge importance on the Prophet Muhammad, nor do we believe that he was the last messenger. 3. We only have one source of law, and that is the Quran. 4. We don't believe in sectors. You're either a submitter to God alone or you're not. 5. We do not have religious leaders, scholars, imams, or any of that sort that tell us what to believe, think, and do. So let's talk about the first point. We devote our religion absolutely to God alone. Like traditional Muslims, we have our 5 daily contact prayers, our Shahada or declaration of faith. But unlike traditional Muslims, we do not devote any part of our 5 daily contact prayers, our declaration of faith, or any other religious duty, act, or form of worship to other than God alone. The traditional Muslims dedicate a portion of their 5 daily contact prayers to Muhammad and Abraham. And as for the Shahada, they dedicate half of it to Muhammad. In many verses in the Quran, God is found telling Muhammad to say, "There is no God except God." Yet traditional Muslims will believe that Muhammad went around telling his followers to add his name in there. Also, God says in the Quran to devote the religion, the places of worship, and the contact prayers absolutely to Him alone. There's no way that Muhammad taught all of his followers to mention his name in these religious duties. This is a big topic, and God willing, we will be getting more into detail in future videos. Point number 2. We do not place such an enormous importance on the Prophet Muhammad. Traditional Muslims will tell you that he was the best, most important, and favorite among all the messengers. Not only are those statements not found in the Quran, but they directly go against God's commandments not to create any distinctions among the messengers. God tells us to treat them all equally and not raise one above the other. Another claim that we also do not believe in is that Muhammad was the last messenger, a statement also not found in the Quran, though he is called the final prophet, as this was God's final testament. Whenever a messenger would come and pass, the people of that time would think that there would be no more coming. They said this about Joseph, that he would be the last messenger. The same thing happened with Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. Whenever a new messenger would come, the people would say, "No, the last one was the final messenger, therefore you cannot be a messenger of God." Thus, all new messengers of God have always been rejected. God willing, we will have another video about this topic in the future. Point number 3 was that we follow the Quran alone. As submitters, we believe that the Quran alone is enough for our guidance and salvation, and we only derive our religious laws from the Quran. In contrast, traditional Muslims follow another set of books called the Hadith, or also known as the narrations of the Prophet Muhammad, or should I say the supposed narrations of the Prophet Muhammad. These narrations contain a whole new set of rules, laws, and regulations that not only conflict with the Quran, but supersede it in many cases. God tells us to believe in the Torah and the Bible, but also informs us that the Quran supersedes anything that they say. This is because there are some human injected and altered verses in there which result in nonsense and contradictory laws and regulations. Hadith, on the other hand, is not recognized by God. They blaspheme against God and insult the Prophet. In fact, in many places in the Quran, God specifically tells us not to follow any other religious source, and He chooses to use the word hadith out of all words. Again, there's a lot to talk about regarding this topic, so God willing, we will be releasing another video in the future more about this. Point number 4. We do not believe in sectors. There is no such thing as Sunni, Shia, Ahmadiyya, Hanafi, or any kind of Muslim. You're either a Muslim or you're not, or you're either a submitter to God alone or you're not. God actually condemns splitting up into sectors in the Quran. Sunni Muslims do not believe you are a Muslim unless you accept the Quran and the Hadith and Sunnah. Shia Muslims do not believe you're a Muslim unless you follow the Prophet's family, namely his son-in-law Ali. There are all these other sects with specific or unique criterion to be a part of them, when in fact the only criterion God gives for being a submitter is to believe in Him alone, the last day, and lead a righteous life. Point number 5. We do not have any religious figures, scholars, leaders, or teachers per se. We don't have anybody telling us what to think, believe, or do. We learn all of these from the Quran. Traditional Muslims will rely on imams, scholars, mullahs, and other religious teachers to teach them about the religion. Whatever they say, traditional Muslims will obey and listen. There are high-ranking scholars who get together and decide what is a part of the religion and what is not. They issue fatwas or religious rulings on what is permittable, non-permittable, things like hijab, rights of men and women. Again, these guys use sources other than the Quran. Us as submitters do not depend on these people to learn the religion. We learn it straight from the source and only derive our religious rules and teachings from the Quran alone. We get together with other submitters, read and discuss about the Quran, and come to a logical agreement based on other verses of the Quran. God willing, we will be making videos about how to use the Quran to derive knowledge using simple and logical methods. So that was a brief comparison about submission and traditional Islam. Thanks for watching. God willing, you will hear from us soon.